What's up, everyone? All right, so in this episode, we're going to talk about preparing for a recession. In fact, I've been preparing my whole life. I grew up in a family that had generational trauma from my great-grandfather losing everything during the Great Depression, and that had a profound impact on his children that he raised. And my mom, when she was growing up, she lost her mother when she was very young. She lost her father when she was very young. She definitely experienced the feeling of losing maybe everything in a sense. And so when she was raising me and my younger sister, we grew up in a family where we felt a lot of scarcity. We felt a penny saved is a dollar earned. You know, something that breaks, even something as silly as an old marker, you save it because you never know when maybe you'll need that last little drip of ink to write a note or pay a bill. So I think that in a lot of ways, I've been preparing for bad times my whole life. And this puts me in a position where I can really give you, hopefully, some helpful tips on the things that I've done and the things that I would do if I hadn't already started them to help me be ready for possibly bad times ahead. Plan for the worst and hope for the best. That's being prepared. So why don't we jump here onto the screen and I'll show you a little bit of what I would say are probably the four biggest steps that you can take today to prepare for a recession. Number one, diversify your income with side hustles. And we'll go over each of these in more detail. Number two, carefully review your expenses and reduce where possible. Number three, begin saving in the event income slows or stops completely. And number four, learn how to fix things yourself and become self-reliant. This is huge. So many people in this world are specialists. We do one thing really well and then we depend on other people to do everything else. Now, you know, this goes back for me totally to thinking about my great-grandfather and these old farmers who up in Vermont, you know, knew how to put together things. They knew how to fix things. They were self-reliant. A self-reliant person is less prone to having to require a bailout or something during an economic recession because you've learned how to care for yourself in all ways, in all aspects of your life. So on the whiteboard here, when we talk first about the side hustle, this is one that I think about a lot. You know, I think that for me, graduating from college in 2009 and coming into this job market that was, you know, just obviously terrible at that time, I had no choice but to be creative and to look for alternative ways to make money. You know, we were in a market where people with master's degrees were applying for unpaid internships. So even someone with a regular college degree, unless you're willing to work unpaid, it was really hard to get a job. And so, you know, for me, I was looking at the world through this lens of nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is promised. I had just lost my father. I was 22 years old when he passed away. And, you know, all of a sudden I watched this man who, you know, had worked hard. He didn't even get to live a retirement. His retirement was taken away. So I feel like I don't buy into the belief of just, you know, keep chugging along, doing something that makes you miserable because someday you'll be able to retire and then you can be happy. That day may never come. So when I was coming into the workforce, I was thinking about what do I actually want to do? How can I live a life where I'm excited to wake up every single day? And for me, side hustles, this gives me a real sense of, well, self-reliance for sure. It makes me feel more confident. It gives me a sense of security knowing that I am not depending all of my income or deriving all of my income from one place. And this isn't something that happens overnight, for sure. Being able to really develop true side hustles that actually generate any meaningful income, that takes time. But what better time to start thinking about it than now? The best time is yesterday. And if you didn't start yesterday, then start today. So start thinking about what kind of side hustles could you do that would make you less dependent on one source of income, so you are more diversified. The more diversified you are, the more resilient you are, the more flexible you are. One source of income could decline, another one could pick up, and you're able to weather through the storm. So side hustles can be anything from driving Uber, to day trading, or selling things on Craigslist, going to yard sales and picking things up and then reselling them. I mean, there are a million different side hustles that people do. You have to be self-motivated. The people who get through these tough times the best are those who are very driven, self-motivated. And for me, the drive, it doesn't come from a place of wanting to make money. And I think that's important, because I think wanting to make money is not always a good motivator. The drive for me is I seek a feeling of security because I am chronically insecure. That comes from the way I was raised. It comes from this generational trauma, this fear of scarcity, of losing everything. And the only way that I feel secure is by working and building these side hustles and these different hobbies and these different sources of income, because that helps alleviate that feeling that I have inside. So that sense of insecurity is an incredible motivator. Now, during times where people are getting concerned and starting to think about recession, that can create a sense of insecurity. And that insecurity can be a really powerful motivator for taking action. So number one, diversifying your income with side hustles in any way that you can. And anything you can do to get that started. You should have started yesterday, you should start a month ago, but if you could start today, that's awesome. Like I said, for me, it was trading. That's obviously not for everyone. I'm trying to give, maybe some advice that I wish I would have heard when I was, 22 years old, coming out of college, and, or sort of, coming into the workforce, whatever, that I didn't get. So this won't apply to everyone, and what has worked for me won't apply for everyone. But for me, trading was something that worked. Now, number two, carefully review expenses and reduce where possible. So for me, when I was living in Vermont and I was going through this period of learning how to trade, I was not making a lot of money at first. I was making money and then I'd lose it, make money and then lose it. So I was net negative. And the problem there was that I knew I had a limited runway of how long I could go without generating some real income. And I bet every one of you right now could sort of calculate how much time you have if you had no income. How long would you be able to make the money you've got right now stretch? How long would it last? And it might not be long. And I understand that. The reality for me in those days was I had a very short runway. So anything that I was able to do to reduce my cost of living and just buy myself a little bit more time, I was absolutely doing that. That does require making some sacrifices. One of the things that I found in myself, for instance, so I had an older car. I had a couple older cars, but one of them was a Saab 9000. It had over 200,000 miles on it. This car was old, and it would break down sometimes. And so it required me to be willing to fix it myself. But you know what fixing it myself did? It created a huge boost of confidence. Like, wow, I can take out and put in a new axle on this car. That's pretty cool. And you know what? How did I learn it? How did I figure that out? Watching YouTube videos. You can watch YouTube videos on everything. My dishwasher's broken. Well, you know what? And this one is kind of number 4 here. Becoming self-reliant. When it comes learning to fix things on your own is such a valuable skill. And I don't mean to sound like, like a grandfather or something, like an old man, but I really believe that if you can develop some of these skills, and they're not all hard to necessarily obtain. Like, let's say, so just as if, for example, my dishwasher last week was not working. There was like an error message and I was like, what is this? And I was just like, I don't know. So on the one hand, I could have said, you know what, call someone to fix the dishwasher and let's have them come and fix it. I don't know what's wrong with it. And on the other hand, naturally, I'm thinking, well, let me see if I can fix this myself. Worst case scenario, I don't fix it. I was gonna have to call the repairman anyways. Best case scenario, I fix it and I get a little boost of, I don't know, dopamine or something. I feel like, hey, serotonin, wow, you actually did something for yourself. You get a little pat on the back, you feel good, you feel like you've accomplished something. And I went on YouTube and I Google, YouTube searched the error message, and some people had some suggestions of what had worked for them. I tried one of them, and it worked. Like, wow, that's awesome. That just saved me, $200 having to call someone to come out and fix something, right? So, and listen, I'm not telling you to take apart your, your circuit breaker panel and start, putting your hands in there. But there are some things that you can safely, where the stakes are lower, try to fix it yourself. And if it doesn't work, then you're already gonna have to call a repairman anyways. So at least you tried and you learned something out of it. I think that, I really think that that's important. So then we're talking about number 3, saving. Listen, I get it. If you're right now in a sort of paycheck to paycheck mode, saving is hard. It's hard to put away anything in a meaningful way for saving. Obviously, if you've been able to review your expenses and trim here in one way or another, then that's going to make saving a little bit easier. I have this sticky note right here that I have for my trading: chipping away, small gains, adjusting daily goal. This is recession talk. This is about being willing to batten down the hatches, hunker down, and just chip away at small gains until things get better, and be willing to, come up a little bit short. This is one of the things that it's really easy for people to get down on themselves. I thought this is where I was going to be at. I graduated from college. I thought I was going to graduate from college, and there would be jobs waiting for me. Now I had this degree. I'd spent money on it. I'd be able to, get a job, right away. That wasn't the case for me. I didn't come right out of the college and have a bunch of jobs waving my face. What I actually ended up doing myself was I did an internship, and then that internship turned into a job, which didn't pay a lot of money. And then as the economy really started to slow down, I saw the writing on the wall that I was going to lose that job. And that's when I switched and ended up getting into the market as a trader, trying to day trade. Because the thing with trading that I thought at the time was, the market's open every day. So, Monday through Friday. I may not be able to find a job on any day, but on any day I can sit down, I can study the market, and maybe I could start finding some opportunities. Maybe I can start developing a strategy. Again, you have to have the right aptitude, the right risk tolerance, and everything else to make that happen. That's not going to be for everyone. But what I also did was I built a community. I started creating a ton of YouTube videos. I opened my YouTube account more than 10 years ago. So this is a long time ago. I started doing a bunch of YouTube videos. I started, I had my blog over at Warrior Trading. There were some affiliate links on the blog for different things. And so that was, again, diversifying. It was a little side hustle. I had my trading, I had the blog, then I wrote a book, I had the book, so it's like, you just start adding a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And I really am a believer that if you are genuinely enjoying what you're doing and it's making you some money, you have got it made. I mean, that is awesome. And if that means you have to make some sacrifices versus someone that's got maybe a regular job, like a 9-to-5, who's kind of maybe a cog in a machine, doesn't really like their job, but gets paid better, gets better benefits, I would rather be the person making less, but enjoying what I'm doing. Really, hands down, that to me is so much more meaningful. Again, that's not going to be everyone, but I think for me, when I hear about recession talk, I'm just like, I've been dealing with this like for forever. Like I remember in the 1999 .com bubble, my mom, my parents complaining about, everything that was happening in the market then, and then we had 9/11, and then with the war in the Middle East. I mean, it's just been like one thing after another. And for what it's worth, I watched my mom, she worked at a job for over 40 years, same job for over 40 years, unceremoniously laid off, gone. After over 40 years of working at the same place. So I think that for me, graduating from college during the Great Recession left me, and losing my father when I was young, left me in this sort of position and belief that nothing is guaranteed. You never know how long you're going to live. You never know what life is going to have in store for you. So you should try to enjoy every single day as much as you can. and just like live a life where you feel resilient and you feel diversified and you can handle getting some punches thrown at you. That's going to make you a stronger person long term. So if these 4 steps can help you get headed in that direction, thinking about side hustles, carefully looking at and accounting for your expenses, starting to save, and this can, I mean, you know, I'm not telling you to go hoard things, but you know, saving money is hoarding money. So this is just preparing. You could prepare by buying an extra can of, you know, tomato sauce every time you go to the grocery store and just putting it on a shelf. It's just, this is like it's a mentality is what it is. And becoming self-reliant as much as you can. Self-sufficiency, self-reliance, those are the things that make me feel the best. And even if right now you said, Ross, I'll give you a job, you know, or I'll buy Warrior Trading from you, but you have to work for me, you know, every day for the next 10 years, I wouldn't do that. I even if I had a job that paid more money, I wouldn't do that because I want to be independent. Being independent, you know, that's probably a big thing that I think a lot of people that graduate around the same time as I did have, that feeling of we need to be independent, you know, and you know, if you don't want to work for the man, and you know, many of us don't want to, you're going to have to figure out a different way to get by, an alternative path. And you know, it's up to you to figure out what that might be. I hope this has maybe pointed you in one direction or another, giving you some feedback, giving you some food for thought at the very least. But these are things that I've done in my life to help me prepare. So a recession, if it's going to come, you know, it's going to come. And then this is also accepting that we have no control over whether or not it comes. The only thing that we can do is be resilient, be diversified, and be prepared, because it can come out of nowhere. You know, 2020 COVID, that came out of nowhere. So, and at that time, I was probably just as prepared then for something happening as I am today, because that's how I've lived my life. So I hope this has been helpful. And you know, as it pertains to trading, I'll say as always that my results are not typical. Success in trading is something that I'm very fortunate to have, but certainly doesn't happen for everyone. So there's no guarantee that that's going to work for you. But you know, as always, if you're interested, you're welcome to check it out. So manage your risk, take it slow, and I hope this is giving you some good food for thought, and I'll see you here for the next episode real soon.